You have most probably met a particular kind of person. Maybe it was your grandfather wiping his hands on a rag that was already more oil than cloth. Or a coworker who, when your car made a strange noise on the way to work, tilted his head, almost like a doctor listening to a heartbeat, and said, "That's your serpentine belt. Give it 2 weeks." They had a point. Not loud, not boastful, just competent in a way that feels increasingly rare. And the question I want to answer today is, what is actually going on inside the minds of people like that? Because I don't think it's just about cars. I think these people have learned something the rest of us haven't. A specific way of negotiating with reality that most of us never get the chance to develop. Let's start. Picture this. You spend 45 minutes writing a careful, thoughtful email. You hit send. You get back. Sounds good. Was it good? Did it matter? Did anyone actually read it? You have no idea. You sit through a 2-hour meeting. Everyone nods. Action items are assigned. 3 weeks later, nothing has moved, and somehow that's fine. And nobody is accountable, and next week there'll be another meeting. You post something online. An algorithm you'll never understand, and that was never designed with your interests in mind, decides, silently and invisibly, whether anyone sees it at all. This is modern professional life for most people. Not dramatic failure. Not clear success. Just a persistent grinding fog of unverifiable outcomes. You can do everything right and still lose. You can coast completely and still win. And after enough years of that, something quietly breaks inside you. The belief that your effort actually means anything in a traceable, honest way. Now imagine you're in a garage. You've diagnosed a misfire, traced it to a fouled injector on cylinder 3. You cleaned it, reinstalled it, and you turned the key. The engine fires. No committee approved that result. No algorithm filtered it. No manager decided whether your work was valid today. The car that didn't run a few hours ago is running now. That's the whole sentence. This is what psychologists call an internal locus of control. The belief that your actions have a direct, traceable relationship to real outcomes. Research consistently shows that people who operate from this mindset carry lower anxiety, greater resilience, and a more stable sense of self-worth. And every time someone who knows cars picks up a wrench, they are, without knowing it, training this capacity, building it like a muscle, one reinforcing the neural architecture of a person who believes that effort and outcome are actually connected. While most of us have slowly started losing that belief, they have never lost it. There's a concept in cognitive science called embodied cognition, the idea that knowledge isn't stored only in the brain. It's stored in the hands, in the body, in the accumulated physical memory of doing. When someone who knows cars listens to an engine, they're not just hearing noise, they're running a diagnostic algorithm built from thousands of hours of sensory experience. The slight hesitation on acceleration, the rattle that appears at 2,200 revolutions per minute and vanishes at 2,500. The way a brake pedal that pulses under your foot tells a completely different story than one that slowly sinks toward the floor. While a repair manual provides you with a map, the hands would give you the territory. Think about this specific moment, because I want you to feel it. You've been fighting a rusted bolt for 40 minutes. You've soaked it in penetrating oil. You've tried a breaker bar. You've applied heat with a torch. Twice the wrench has slipped, and your knuckles have hit cold metal and paid the price. You reset. You breathe. You apply the bar one more time, slowly with everything you have. Crack. It moves for only a quarter turn. That sound, that sensation traveling from the bolt through the tool into your palm, triggers something in the nervous system that is genuinely difficult to replicate anywhere else in modern life. It is your body confirming, I applied knowledge to resistance, and I won. That feeling is addictive. It should be. And, crucially, it required no one's permission to be real. Here's where it gets personal. Most people who are truly good with cars didn't learn from a textbook. They learned standing next to someone. A father in a driveway on a Sunday afternoon. An uncle who ran a shop out of a converted barn. A neighbor who never minded if you wandered over and asked questions, as long as you handed him the right socket when he asked for it. And this kind of transmission, let's call it the silent curriculum, carries something formal education almost never does. The weight of relationship. When knowledge passes through a human bond rather than a syllabus, it arrives with an emotional signature attached. You don't just learn how to gap a spark plug. You remember who showed you, the smell of that garage, the specific light of a late Sunday afternoon, the way their voice dropped slightly when they said something that mattered. Now feel that. That's how you know it's right. The mentor rarely says, "I believe in you." They just hand you the wrench and stand close enough to catch the mistake before it becomes a disaster. That is what belief looks like when it comes from someone who actually knows what they're doing. This is why mechanical knowledge so often feels less like something you learned and more like something you inherited. It's biographical. It carries a record of patience given and received, of a kind of love that expresses itself not in words, but in the slow, serious act of showing another person how something real works. I want to pause here. Did you have someone like that in your life? A person who showed you how something real worked, not because they had to, but because they thought you were worth the time? Drop their name in the comments. Just a first name is enough. I think that part of the comment section is going to be one of the most quietly powerful things about this video. People who learn this way carry a confidence that is grounded rather than performed, because their competence wasn't validated by a grade or a certificate. It was confirmed in real time by someone whose judgment was anchored in physical reality. There is a difference, a profound one, between being told you did well and watching an engine run because of what you did. Let me describe a specific kind of nightmare because I think you'll recognize the psychology of it. The car cuts out randomly at highway speed. No warning, no pattern. You check the obvious things. Battery connections clean, alternator output within spec, all fuses intact. You drive it for 2 days, perfect. Then it happens again, you pull codes, nothing useful. So you go deeper. You work through the circuit methodically. Grounds, relays, ignition switch, wiring harness. Hour 1, hour 2, hour 3. You're on your back under the dashboard with a multimeter and a wiring diagram, probing each connection in a sequence driven by logic rather than frustration. And then you find it, a single corroded pin, in a connector behind the dashboard, making contact just well enough to pass a visual inspection, but failing intermittently under vibration. That's it. That's the whole problem. The satisfaction of that moment is not just emotional. It's a proof of method. It proves that systematic, patient, non-catastrophizing attention to reality eventually wins. Every time. No exceptions. This is the cognitive posture that therapists spend years cultivating in patients, that scientists train for a decade to sustain, that good leaders are celebrated for maintaining under pressure. And for someone who learned to work on cars, it was built through the completely concrete, completely unglamorous experience of not finding the answer yet, and choosing to stay calm anyway. Because the fault always exists somewhere. Reality is consistent. It is findable. That belief, quiet, earned, and unshakable, turns out to be one of the most transferable psychological assets a person can carry into any domain of their life. Let me be direct about what I think is really going on. People who know how to work on cars have something our culture has quietly stopped giving people: a reliable, repeatable experience of being adequate to a real problem. Not adequate to someone's opinion of them. Not adequate to an algorithm's evaluation of their content. Adequate to a broken, physical, honest thing that either works or it doesn't. There's a moment that plays out in garages constantly and almost never gets talked about. Someone gets a car running that wasn't running before. They close the hood, they step back, and for a second, just a second, they are completely alone with the knowledge that they did something real. The engine is running. It wasn't before. Now it is. No likes, no approval, no feedback loop with a 3-week delay. Just the sound of an engine and the quiet certainty of a person who knows what they just did. In a world that has grown extraordinarily skilled at making people feel perpetually behind, perpetually dependent, perpetually unverified, that moment is not a small thing. It is a psychological anchor, a piece of stable ground in a landscape that keeps shifting. It doesn't solve everything, but it reminds you of something important, something that emails and meetings and algorithms have been slowly making you forget. that you are someone who can figure things out, that you can take a broken thing and make it work, that your hands and your mind, applied with patience and attention to something real, are actually enough. And maybe that's the most important thing a garage can teach you. Thanks for watching. Here's what I want to know. What's your version of the running engine? What's the thing in your life that gives you that same honest, unambiguous confirmation? That quiet moment where you just know you did something real? Drop it in the comments and hit subscribe for more videos like this.